Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one will be appointed to you.
Do you understand these rights as they've been read to you? What case brought us the Miranda rights?
Miranda versus
Arizona, yes. And what was the case? What did Mr. Miranda do? Nobody remembers what Miranda did do it.
Did he incriminate himself?
Well, he did, but he got arrested and he was interrogated. During his interrogation, he created and he was forced, we'll say he was forced, to give a confession without an attorney, without his rights being read to him. Mr. Miranda was a serial rapist. He had raped almost 13 women in the Phoenix, Arizona area. Was forced into a confession, was not given any rights, and he appealed because his rights were not given to him, and he was not given the right to remain silent. He did not have the right to not self-incriminate himself. He did not have the right to an attorney. So the Supreme Court in the 1960s set him free because of this, and we now have the Miranda warning, so the Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say may be used against you in court. I've kind of changed the Miranda rights when I read them. And they say, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed to you by the taxpayer. Do you have any questions? But before you answer that, let me tell you this. If I, the taxpayer, am paying your attorney, he works for me. He's not working for your best interests. Would you like to hire an attorney at this time? And if you ever find yourself in trouble, just know that the attorney that they appoint you works for the judge. He is not looking out for your best interest. He's looking out for the best interest of the court. Nobody likes it when I read. Nobody on the state side likes it when I read people their rights. Because you have to make sure. You shall ensure that people understand what their rights are and what they mean. But beyond that, beyond having an appointed attorney, everybody thinks that this attorney is free, right? It costs the state, in most states, the state of Texas, if you go to trial, the state will pay that attorney $6,000 to represent you in trial. $3,000 if it's a plea bargain. I can get a whole lot more plea bargains done in the amount of time that I can get a single zone. Glad you could join us. I just feeling better. Everybody does. Pick me up. I'm having a McConnell moment.
Trial attorneys.
Oh, okay. After the attorney, the state's going to pay your appointed attorney, but after you're convicted, you have to pay the state back. So the attorney's not free. If you are on probation, part of your probation fees are to repay the attorney that represented you. When you get on parole, you have to pay $10 a month. Part of that $10 a month goes to pay the attorney. You don't get off of parole till all of your fees are paid. You don't get off of probation until all of your fees are paid. I can extend your probation for up to 10 years, just waiting for you to pay a bill. And at the end of that 10 years, I can still send you to prison for your full sentence. Okay, a preponderance of the evidence. And I don't know where we go next. My screen should show me. In order to be convicted of a crime, what is the standard of proof needed? Beyond a reasonable doubt. So what is beyond a reasonable doubt?
75% or more proof that you did the crime.
75% or more?
Hard evidence.
I hear you. Hard evidence.
Hard evidence? Yeah. You want to help them a little, Ron?
Veronica.
Huh?
Victoria.
Victoria, I'm sorry. Victoria. You want to help them? You don't know?
Answer.
Brandon? Beyond a reasonable doubt is not necessarily 75%. It is hard evidence. But what it shows, or what beyond a reasonable doubt shows, is that there is very little doubt, very reasonable, no reasonable doubt that the offender committed the crime. So, for an example, we'll use Mr. Trump because he's such a good tool this semester. Whether you like Trump or not, doesn't matter. In order for him to be convicted of RICO, conspiracy to overthrow the government, what does the state have to prove?
And he had plans to overthrow the government.
One at a time. Now,
He had plans to overthrow the government.
he had a plan.
And he did it beyond reasonable doubt.
They did it beyond a reasonable doubt. He had to take an action, right? He had to make an action to overthrow the government, to overthrow the election. Because the way the media is portraying it and the way that he's been charged are two different things. He's been charged with trying to conspire with others to overturn the election in Georgia. So they have to prove, there's three things that they have to prove. And what are they? Mens rea, his mental state,
Actus reus,
his action, and concurrence. So in order to prove his mental state, the state has to show that President Trump knew he lost the election and thought that the only way to change it was to use his power and authority as president to take actions towards overturning the election. So what actions did he take?
Did he like talk to somebody or something?
He called the Secretary of State and said, hey, we need to find 1,100 more votes. He called somebody else and said, hey, we need to get a different set of electors to vote for me so that we can overturn the electors that the state are sending up, which are going to vote for Biden. Did he do these things? Yes, he did. There is no contest. He did these things. But now we also have to prove mens rea. Mens rea is a state of mind. Was he doing these things with the intent, with the mentality that he's going to overthrow the government? and that he knew what he was doing about claiming that the election was stolen, he knew that that was a lie. How can we prove that beyond a reasonable doubt?
I don't think that necessarily did to lead him wanting to overthrow the government.
And that's where the state's gonna have the problem. Did you know what happened in 2000 in Florida? How many of you are alive in 2000 in Florida? No.
Tim was alive.
Tim was alive.
7 years old.
I'm not 27.
In 2000, there was this Florida, Miami-Dade County, there were some issues with the hanging chads. Prior to 2000, we all had paper ballots, and we used this little pen to push holes into the people that we wanted to vote for. Then IBM counted the holes. Well, the ballots that they used at the time, the holes didn't form properly, and there were hanging chads. And when you sent it through the IBM counter, it didn't count votes for Al Gore. So what did Al Gore do? He contested the election. He called his friends. He used Daniel Horowitz, to create a separate set of electors to contest the election, because Al Gore believed that he won the election. Even though the Supreme Court even came back and said, no, Mr. Gore, you lost. Go back to your climate change and global warming speeches. You lost. And he refused to accept it. Everything that Trump has done, Al Gore did in 2000. Have I just created reasonable doubt to Trump's intention to overthrow the government? Well, it depends if you want to listen to me or not. You can listen to Chuck Todd, and Chuck Todd and Meet the Press is going to tell you, no, they're completely different. A reasonable doubt is where any reasonable person can be convinced that actus reus or mens rea did not occur. As opposed to working for Child Protective Services, where it is a preponderance of the evidence. Actually, Child Protective Services uses clear and convincing, which is somewhere between a preponderance of the evidence and a reasonable doubt. A preponderance of the evidence is 50% plus 1. That's more likely than not. He said, she said. Who do you believe more? That's the preponderance of the evidence. And this is where all justice starts. In order to create probable cause, you have to have a preponderance of the evidence. The story from the police officer must be believable. The story from the probation officer must be believable. And then you can get a warrant. Probable cause is defined as that which is more than mere suspicion that would lead a reasonable person to believe that a crime has been committed, is being committed, or is about to be committed. And the above can be stated in simple, articulable facts. The facts are Donald Trump disagreed with the results of the 2020 election. Donald Trump made phone calls to try to influence the State Department, the Secretary of State in Georgia, to find more votes for him. The acts are there. Is it possible that Donald Trump committed a crime? Let's go to the leader of the white supremacist group, the Proud Boys. Enrique Torrio. You guys know about him?
You got sentenced to 22 years?
Got sentenced to 22 years yesterday as the leader of the Proud Boys, who was a white supremacy group. Can anybody give me the race and ethnicity background of Enrique Torrio? He is not white. He is Hispanic of African descent. But he runs the most dangerous white supremacy group in the country. Are we a little bit confused? Sentenced to 22 years for his involvement with the insurrection on January 6th. Do you know how many windows he broke on January 6th? None. Do you know how many cops he punched in the face on January 6th? None. Do you know how many selfies he took inside the Capitol building? None. Do you know where Enrique Torrio was during the riot on January 6th? In a hotel room in Maryland, some 50 miles away. Sentenced to 22 years in prison for being the leader of the insurrection. And just a side note, special voice commentary, that's the worst insurrection in the history of insurrection. Nobody brought a single gun to the game. If I'm going to commit insurrection, I'm killing somebody. I have 5 firearms, 9,000 rounds of ammunition, all fell into the bottom of the lake. So I guess I used to have them. I'm bringing them with me. If I'm going to participate in an insurrection, I'm bringing my guns with me. None of the people that have been convicted in the last 2 weeks had any weapons. One guy shook a fence, pushed a cop, made a cop fall down. 17 years in prison for that.
Wow, that's crazy.
Well, was there probable cause to arrest them? Yes, there was. Was there probable cause to try them? Yes, there was. Was there probable cause to convict them? Probable cause isn't an issue in conviction. What's the standard for conviction?
Beyond a reasonable doubt.
Beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay, so moving on to DWI. Because you have a quiz assignment due on Sunday. It's like 10 questions maybe. And all of the questions will come off of the next few slides. All the answers to the questions will come off of the next few slides. So let's start. Title 10, Chapter 49 covers intoxication and alcohol beverage offenses. So Title 9 of the Texas Penal Code, every title of the Penal Code has a different focus. This chapter 10 is offenses against public health, safety, and morals. Do you know your morals are legislated? Chapter 49 deals with intoxication. So 49 section 1 deals with definitions that are in this chapter. So I skipped it. What does it mean to be drunk? Point away. Breathalyzer. What up? Yep.
Drive under it.
You better be under it.
Yeah.
What about public intoxication?
Anything that's your.
0.03. Okay, so ladies, I don't know about ladies, men, that's when we all get lucky, right? We get her a little tipsy. If she blows 0.03, she is no longer capable of giving consent. If you have sex with her at 0.03, you're raping her. And ladies, the same goes the other way. But 97% of all rapes are male on female. So we'll just stick it that way. Okay, so a person commits the offense if, for public intoxication, if a person appears in public while intoxicated to the degree that they may endanger themselves or somebody else. And for the purpose of this section, a licensed or permitted under the alcoholic beverage is a public place. So if you're getting stupid drunk at Big Daddy Zane's, you could still be busted for public intoxication. That's why they're supposed to have bouncers and the bartenders. We've started suing the bartenders for continuing to serve drinks to somebody who's obviously publicly intoxicated. I used to have an intoxication wheel where you can take your weight and your drinks, and it will give you an estimate of how drunk you are. Yeah, so if you weigh 130 pounds and in 1 hour you've had 4 drinks, a drink is a 1 ounce shot, a 6 ounce wine, 12 ounce beer. At 130 pounds, your blood alcohol is 0.07. For every drink that you have, it takes 2 hours for it to get out of your system. So, who are you guys playing Saturday? Okay, so they'll be drowning their tears in beers. I'm sorry.
You said it was 4?
At 130 pounds. 4
For
drinks.
130 to get the 0.07?
Yes.
Yeah, that's not
So, senior 225?
Thanks, man. 270.
270.
Yeah.
I'm only 240. Ramon, where are you at?
310.
310? Preston?
320.
320? Tim?
164.
That's why he was a quarterback. Maybe that's why he got his back broke. Because these guys are twice as big. And guys are tackling him are twice as heavy as he is. Okay. So at 240 pounds, I can drink a 6-pack every hour and not be drunk and not be over 0.05. It deals with weight. Now, if I was to eat something beforehand, especially carbs, you can drink a little more. But let's not worry about eating. If you're under 200 pounds, you need to not be drinking more than 4 drinks an hour. If you're under 150, maybe 3 an hour. How many of you partiers can go an hour with only 3 drinks? Not 2.
I get dehydrated. You wouldn't want me to get thirsty, would you?
So, as a professional drunk, let me tell you that once you've started drinking, you mix it with water, and it increases your drunk.
Why is that? Wait, really?
Physics.
So why when you're throwing up, someone's throwing up, you give them water? They're just gonna get more drunk?
They're gonna get more drunk, they're gonna puke some more. If you have a horrible hangover Sunday morning, because you partied really hard Saturday night, go drink an 8-ounce bottle of water, and you'll be just as drunk as you were the night before.
12 ounce beer. Very dog.
That is the hair of the dog, is water.
So my question is, why do they always give you like a glass of water every time?
Yeah, why are you told to drink water?
to help increase your drunk.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a slippery rub. Every
No.
drink you
I
have.
thought it was
you
the
have to
other
rub.
way around. I thought water would help you.
No.
You better
You would think that
straighten
it would dilute it.
Yeah.
But what it does is it increases it. What is the primary major ingredient in all alcohol?
Yeast.
Water.
Um,
So you add water to your drinks, it might make it taste milder, or it might, it's another myth of drinking. So when you're getting hazed at the frat, don't let them make you drink water, because the water will kill you. Just drink beer.
Amen.
That's why.
Okay, so for the purposes, it is a defense to prosecution under this section that the alcohol or other substances was administered for therapeutic purposes. Okay. So if you're drinking and you're drunk, is there a reason why somebody might give you alcohol for therapeutic purposes?
You're depressed.
Mental reasons.
Medical reasons. Okay, but, and as you notice on this public intoxication, there's no numbers, none at all. The standard is 0.03 is public intoxication, because 0.03 is what the mark of giving consent is. But if you're stumbling around and you're slurring your words and you can't do the field sobriety test, then they're gonna bust you for public intoxication. I know everybody's sober right now. I want to teach you something. You hold your hands out like this with your palms up. You don't move your shoulders. You can fold in your fingers, except because the test is touch your nose with your middle finger. If you just bend your arm, it will always go to your nose.
How are you gonna?
It will always go to your nose because your wingspan is your height. So however long your arms are, that's how tall you are. And your nose is right in the middle of your body. Simple trick to beat the test. Just remember, you fold your arm. You don't go like this because then you're going to stick your finger in your ear. You just fold your arm and it will go to your nose every single time. And now if you got 30-inch guns, you might have a problem getting your wrist past your gun. So the possession of alcohol in a motor vehicle. Now let's back up a second. An offense, public intoxication, is a Class C misdemeanor. Okay. An offense under this section, not lesser included offenses, is there, but I'm not going to send you to that link. An offense under this section, if you're under 21, is punishable in the same manner if as a Class C misdemeanor. How is a Class C misdemeanor punished or sanctioned?
Less than a year, not to exceed.
Public
1,000.
intoxication.
Is it 6 days in jail?
No. For Class C misdemeanor,
Fine not to exceed $500.
fine not to exceed $500.
8 days in jail? Or is it
Nope.
less fee?
No, Class C misdemeanor is a fine only. There is no there is no jail sanction. Okay, so 49.031, possession of alcohol in a motor vehicle. This is more commonly known as the open container law. Because I can have booze in my car all day long, can't I? As long as it's not open and I'm not drinking it, where it's good to go. Because how else am I going to get my booze home from the liquor store unless it's in the car? Can't walk down the street with my 5th of Jack in my hand either because that's gonna get me for public intoxication. So I have to have it in the car. What this is talking about is an open container, says so right here. Okay, it means that a bottle or can or receptacle that contains any amount of alcohol. If you get a cop who is anal retentive, and he sees you taking a swig of NyQuil, he can bust you for open container.
Is it because it's medicine and not like just a drink?
NyQuil is 75% alcohol.
What's that shit?
So the real professional drunks that can't afford to go get that Kentucky Deluxe whiskey for $2.37, will go buy some NyQuil. I'm not that much of a professional. Okay, so if you have this open container in the passenger area of the motor vehicle, anywhere where somebody sits, you know, I've heard the argument, I'm not in the passenger area, I'm the driver. This is the driver's seat. Yeah, that doesn't work very well. Okay, putting it in the a glove compartment or a similar storage container that's locked is a defense. In the trunk is a defense. They don't count. But if you put them in a place where it's designed for people to be sitting, for example, back when I used to drink and drive all the time, I'd drink, and when I finished, I'd crush the can, and I'd throw it in the bed of the truck. That's not an open container because it's not in a place where people sit. You could go look at my truck now, it's filled with empty soda bottles and water bottles and things. I quit drinking long before any of you were born. Saying that we've already had that summary. Tim's the only one that was alive in 2000.
That is what it is.
But I still follow the same thing. When I finish a Bang or an energy drink, I'll crunch it and I'll throw it out the window and it lands in the bed of the truck. And the bed of my truck is filled with empty containers. Okay. So, let's back up. An offense under this section is a Class C misdemeanor. What's the fine or what's the punishment? Less than 500. Driving while intoxicated. Person commits offense if they are intoxicated while operating a motor vehicle in place. The current law is 0.08. Except as provided in subsections C and D. If you are under medical care. Is there other ways than just alcohol to be intoxicated?
Pills.
Pills. Smoking weed. I gotta go back to Colorado. Are you guys playing here or in Colorado?
Colorado.
Oh. It's almost 420. 420 somewhere. Recreational use of marijuana is legal in Colorado. How's the NCAA deal with that?
You see, they didn't test for it.
They just test
They just test for steroids.
They don't test for pot anymore?
So it's a school thing, so the school can test for it, but the NCAA.
The NCAA just looks for steroid.
Yes, sir.
And the creatine, all you guys are taking every day, that doesn't count?
That's not a steroid. That just replenishes your muscles with water.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. You didn't mean it, it's all right.
Yeah, I've noticed when I was in college and going, all of the linemen specifically, they come to summer practice looking like Tim. And then by the first game, they're looking like Ramon and Heston there. Like, how do you guys get so buff so quickly? Creatine, mother. Guys, so if it's shown at the trial the offense is under 4909, it is enhanced. So technically it is a Class B misdemeanor. What's a Class B misdemeanor punished by?
There we go, 6 days. I knew it was.
Class B misdemeanor is a minimum or less than or maximum of 6 days and a fine of up to $1,000. However, and I like using this crime, this is a Class B misdemeanor, but it falls under the enhancement clause. And that is what 4909 talks about. And that is that the punishment, even though it's still a Class B misdemeanor, the punishment on subsequent arrests and convictions of DWI, you are enhanced to the next level of punishment. And this is within a 10-year time frame. So within 10 years, you're busted for your first DWI, and you get 6 days in jail, $1,000 fine, and you got to pay for your insurance and your service fee and everything, get your license back. And then you get your second DWI. It is enhanced to a Class A. And your clock starts over again. You get a third, and now it is a state jail felony. You're going to jail for 2 years. You get a fourth, it is a third-degree felony. A fifth is a second-degree felony. A sixth is a first-degree felony. You're serving up to 99 years. And your seventh qualifies as capital life without parole for being drunk. Okay. Person commits the offense of driving while intoxicated with the child in the car. If they are operating a motor vehicle, they blow a blood alcohol of 0.08, and there is somebody under the age of 15 in the car. Ector County is famous, I guess. Ector County has sent one person in the history of Ector County. They have sent one person to death row. The lawyer, his name is Anthony Foster. Anthony Foster tried that case and he sent the bad guy, he was the DA, he sent the bad guy to death row. I want to say it was Spider Gonzalez.
Isn't he still on trial?
It came back. They found that there was some jury misinstructions given, some technicality of Spider's back in Ector County on trial for his crimes again. Actually, no, I lied. It wasn't there's evidence that was shown that he may not have committed the crime. And the DA's office crushed that evidence, so Spider's back to get it done again. But anyway, Anthony Foster gets his death row case. He's famous. He ends his career. He goes, I don't need to be a district attorney anymore. I'm going to go become a defense attorney. He moves down to Alpine, where I was a probation officer, and becomes a defense attorney. And his name comes up every month for a charge of DWI with a minor in the car. He blew .36. Almost 4 times the legal limit. Sorry, 4 times over the legal limit. And he had his 15-year-old son in the car. So they charged him with DWI, which is a state jail felony. And what's the punishment for a state jail felony?
3 years minimum.
2 years, what's the fine? 10 or 5? 10. Okay. So for 12 years, his case would come up every month. And he asked for a continuance and the judge would give him a continuance. Because once he's convicted, what happens to him? He loses his job. He gets disbarred. So they waited, the nice good old boy system of West Texas, they waited till he retired from being an attorney, and then he pled guilty, and the judge gave him didn't dismiss it, but they gave him time served, and then he lost his license to practice law. He was already a millionaire living down in Alpine. Flying while intoxicated. Do you ever want to trust a drunk pilot? As, yeah, as Victoria mentioned earlier, 9/11's coming. 3,000 people died. 9/11, almost 3,000 people, 9/11, 2001. I was working in the federal prison at the time. And I was, because I speak Arabic, Turkish. At the time I did. That was a long time ago. When you live in West Texas and you don't use a language very much, you tend to lose that.
So many words or sentences?
In Arabic?
Yeah.
How akadashim? That's a sentence. That means, hello, my friend, how are you?
I don't know.
Does it though?
Good. So I spoke Turkish and Arabic. I was working with the prison system because we had some Arabs that are being deported and Muslims who are being deported in our prison. So I got a pay raise because I spoke that language. Didn't help me because 97% of the population spoke Spanish, and este güero no hablo español. Now I speak as much Arabic as I speak Spanish, so. Anyway, I was called into work, and we took every Muslim in the prison and we put them in the special population. Because the other inmates wanted to kill them all. And I found it ironic for the inmates that were able to speak Spanish and talk to me, not Spanish, but English, and talk to me. They said, I want to be in this country. I want to be here so badly. I came here illegally. And these assholes blew the country up. So I want revenge. I kind of liked that. And put them on a bus and took them to Mexico. Voting while intoxicated. All of these are still at 0.08. 0.08 is the marker to say that you're intoxicated. You cannot operate a car, a plane, a boat if you are intoxicated.
Well, most people who drive a boat, aren't they like drunk in some facet?
Yes. And the open container rules still apply. Yes. So spring break, when you guys go to Lake Mead, and at Lake Mead, Avocado, all of the spring break parties on the lake there in Nevada. If you haven't been, you need to go. A long time ago. Back when debauchery was one of my favorite pastimes. Debauchery? That is a proper term for being a slut.
Debauchery.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll and naked people all occur at Lake Mead during spring break. And their boat parties. The Redneck Yacht Club, you guys have heard that country western song? Go look it up later. And watch the video. Because it's really cool. Okay. A minimum term of 72 hours in prison or in jail. Okay, 49.065, and I keep reading you these for a reason, because they're going to ask you for the code. So this would be Title 10, 4965, assembling or operating an amusement ride while intoxicated. You guys do know that the county fair is in town this week.
Yeah.
Any of you gone to the fair? I really like the slingshot ride. Oh, I don't ride it, I sit there and watch. People wet themselves, people lose their clothes, all kinds of strange things happen. Back to my days of debauchery. So a person commits the offense if they're intoxicated while they're operating or they are assembling an amusement ride. Because we've found that drunk people don't put things together right. And then people end up getting hurt and or dying. Huh? It is a Class B misdemeanor, minimum jail term of 6 days. Intoxication and assault. Getting stupid while you're drunk and going into fisticuffs. Person commits this offense by accident or mistake or on purpose if they operating an aircraft, a watercraft, an amusement ride, or motor vehicle in a public place while they're intoxicated and they hurt somebody. So not only do you have to deal with the homicide, they're going to stack your charges and also give you intoxication assault, which is a third-degree felony. So if you do any of these things and you're drunk and you hurt somebody in the process, it's a third-degree felony, including going to the bar, getting drunk, not liking that Miranda is flirting with your girl, and you kill it. Well, but I was drunk. Sorry, still a felon. Because that's what happened to Miranda. I know I stopped and I didn't tell you the rest of Miranda. Miranda was set free. But nobody would hire him because he's a convicted, well, not anymore, but he's an exonerated serial rapist. And everybody knew that he was a serial rapist, and then he got out of prison on a technicality. So he laminated a whole bunch of Miranda cards, and he would sign them for $5. He would sign the Miranda card and give it to you, and that's how he made a living. Yeah, kind of like my book. I'll sign it for $5. No, I'll sign it for free. You've already paid $1,300 to come take my class. You know, the least I could do is autograph the book. So Miranda sees this pretty girl sitting at the bar with a drink, and he goes up to her and starts flirting. That's what we all do, right? We always flirt with pretty girls. And pretty girl goes, I'm here with somebody. Well, I don't see him here now. We went to the restroom. Well, his loss, my game. Let's go. Guy comes out of the bathroom, says, you're Miranda. Says, yes, I am. He goes, welcome to my knife. Stabbed it, killed it on the spot. Some people may or may not think that this guy gave good service to the country by getting rid of a serial rapist. he went to prison for murder and intoxication assault. Intoxication manslaughter. A person commits this offense if the person operating a motor vehicle in a public place operates an aircraft, a watercraft, a museum ride, amusement park ride, or assembles a ride and is intoxicated and causes the death of another individual. So you know this in advance, right? So do you want to go do any of this drunk? Because you know this, you would be knowingly committing this crime. And if you kill somebody, you're going to be held responsible for it. Okay, and we've talked about the enhancement policies and penalties. Any questions? Yes, sir.
You didn't talk about the passengers. Like
What
if
about
they
the
had-
passengers?
Like if they had an open container, they're drinking while you're driving?
You're going to jail.
Who? The passenger?
The driver.
Yeah, that's, oh, yeah.
What's, even if the passenger claims it, they're like, no, this is mine.
Yeah.
The driver still goes to jail.
Even if like they.
You are not allowed to have an open container inside the passenger compartment of the car.
Is that different in different states?
I don't know. I don't live in other states. I'm in Texas. This is the Texas Penal Code. You're not allowed to have an open container in the passenger compartment of the car. Because what's keeping you, yes, this is my beer, but what's keeping you from holding his beer? And how can you prove that you're not drinking it?
People are 000.
Doesn't matter. You still have an open container in the car. And when you're driving the car, you're responsible for it. And you're responsible for everything that goes on in your car. Okay. Drugs and pot and those other things, you know, the driver's going to jail. Now, if somebody turns around and says, they're my drugs, he's going to jail. And the driver is still getting in trouble. Transporting and smuggling contraband. Because you are responsible for everything that happens in that car while you're driving it.
Say you don't know that the passenger has contraband, are you still getting arrested when it's caught?
That would be the taxi cab defense. I was just giving the guy a ride. I didn't know what he had in the car. The Uber defense. I was just giving him a ride. It's not my fault that he stuffed drugs in my back seat. And if it's in the back seat, yeah, you'll probably have a defense for it. But if it's in the console or the glove box,
Yeah.
you're done. Come into Canvas. Did I just ruin your weekend fun? I'm still gonna have fun.
I know new ways to have fun.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell the cop, I haven't had that in my applied practices in criminal justice class yet. We haven't discussed any of that. I didn't know. Oh, Yolanda asked a question. Does the driver and the passenger go to jail? Is that what you're saying? I get the driver going to jail, even if I'm not drinking, even if, yes, you're going to jail. If there's an open container in your car, you're going to jail, even if it belongs to a passenger. Because you are responsible for what goes on in that car. There was a point in time, well, another TMI. Hey, look at my stupidity. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, my wife's family would have Christmas breakfast or brunch at a hotel in Abilene every Christmas. So we get up early Christmas morning, we drive from San Angelo up to Abilene, and there's this long, lonely road between Rowena and Abilene, and I get pulled over. My 14-year-old son is in the back seat, not wearing a seatbelt. Who got the ticket? I did. A couple years later, we're driving down the street. My wife is sitting next to me. Her seatbelt's on, but she's pulled the seatbelt and she's put it underneath her arm. Because if you've ever seen or met my wife, she's like this tall. And the seatbelt always rubs against her neck. So she puts the seatbelt under her arm instead. It's click it or ticket, right? Who got the ticket? You. Because she was not properly wearing her seatbelt. The seatbelt must go over your shoulder, not under your shoulder. That was a $200 ticket. And it's because I, the driver, is responsible for everything that happens in the car. That's possible. No? There it is. So if you go into Canvas, you'll have all of your classes listed. Go into our class. Come down here into module of week 2. The penal code for DWI penal code is right here. And it, again, shows you everything that I just told you. Here's your test. Copy it. I think I'll let you copy and paste.
It does.
Oh, I'm not in student view. Okay, copy and paste. Start your assignment. Take text entry, copy and paste it in here, and answer those questions. Due by Sunday. Hit submit, and then you'll get the confetti to come up. Then that you're done. And then I'll get notification that you're done. And I'll grade it sometime next week. Okay, it is Thursday, so we will not see you again until next Tuesday. We'll move into week 3. Then we're going to talk about communications and more writing reports and all that fun stuff before we get to some videos. Okay, any other questions, comments, or concerns? Have a good weekend. Don't drink and drive unless you're thirsty in a hurry. If you haven't signed in, please make sure you do so. Linus Learning. Want me to email it to you? Oh, I know. Yeah,